Hello, everyone. I'll be getting started in just a smidge. Uh, all right. I'm live. Yeah, it was just on hardcore. We just took down the hardcore world for the end of season 2, so I was on the hardcore world taking a quick screenshot of the top 100 just in case. Hopefully, there will be no inaccuracies. I believe we fixed those from season 1, but just in case, right before we took the worlds down, a couple of us went and screenshotted the entire list of 100, so we have something we can reference internally if we need to. I mean, we can do a data pull too, but doesn't hurt to do it the old-fashioned way. Hello, Sarah and Caesar, Elizabeth over on Facebook, Shoemaker, Druids, Forehand, Darkhaven, Doot, ATG and everyone else over on Twitch. Welcome to the weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. I am DDO's Community Manager Cordovan, and I'll be with you for the next hour. I don't know what I'm doing. I have to admit, I'm kind of rolling into the show cold here today without any prep work. So one thing I am going to do, however, this is week 2 of 2 on Wayfinder, I'm actually going to spend my Epic Destinies. I had forgotten to do that last time. So let me quick take care of that. Let's see, melee attack. And I'm going to go for con because, you know, never hurts. I may end up respending this, but for now, I just wanted to get this done. Good enough. Now I've got something to spend. All right. Anyone else is here to join me? All right, let me take a quick look at my quest log, see if there's anything in particular folks would like to run or that I don't have done. Should be quite a bit. I don't think should be quite a bit of options here. Could always do Sharn. Let's do Gatekeepers, huh? Nah, let's not do the anniversary party. Let's run the Lost Gatekeepers here. It's new content. Why not? And how about I go in the right direction? Alright, so welcome everybody. We are just took down the hardcore worlds for Season 2. There will be a Season 3. My understanding is you may be seeing it relatively soon on Lamania, but we'll have more info on that in the near future. Otherwise, we're just getting ready for, well, like I said, we just took down Season 2 of Hardcore. Instead of doing our weekly downtime today, we're going to do it tomorrow, but that's not particularly valuable information at this point. So things are a little on the quiet side, I guess, overall. We're cooking ahead on our next game updates. And we probably will be having something to show you on Lamania here in the relatively near future. There we go. Thank you for the shares. So typical show prep, I usually am a little bit more prepared than this, but like I was saying, I just went to hardcore right before we went live here, so I had to swap over at the last second, and it's got me a little out of sorts, as it were. Will there be any updates before the expansion? Yes, there will be. As a matter of fact, we will be having our next update prior to the expansion. And that's going to be, my understanding is largely something along the lines of a free quest, along with, I believe, legendarified versions of a couple of classic raids. And that'll be before Feywild, which is later this year. So that should be targeting sometime in early midsummer, I would expect. Where am I going? What am I doing? Where am I going? Alright, let's do this thing. I will get the bonus for you here in just a second as well. I figure we'll just kind of do the quests in kind of rough geolocation order, if that's okay. If I do it right, which I did not. Here we go. All right. Sorry for the notification spam. Welcome to my life. I'm waiting on a phone call from a doctor's office for just a thing. Nothing serious. And so you're going to have to listen to my notifications. What sword is that? I am using a cosmetic Borderlands warrior sword to go along with the cosmetic warrior set. Nothing to say about Crystal Cove. Sorry. I know that there's some people who would like us to bring it out. Nothing I can announce in regard to a pre-purchase for the Feywild campaign either. You can expect that to be before it comes out, probably somewhere in the range of 30 to 60 days or so. Not sure about the DNT in the Wilderness tab. I ended up having to basically abandon HCL2 this time around, because just too darn busy. The After Party Growler is basically an opportunity for players on the hardcore server to get their stuff out of their shared banks, make sure they do whatever they need to do to spend down, say, their Astral Shard total, abandon guilds, and if necessary, to transfer their characters, take care of any character bank stuff, whatever you need to do, basically, to get that character off the server before we do a full server database wipe. So that's what the After Party is about. Yeah, I would imagine the after party would be something in the range of 2 weeks-ish. I will endeavor to get a more formal announcement out about that today. ultimately, I don't know that. Just if it's like last time, there'll be a big rush at the front, and then no one will log in for a while, and so the actual deadline is relatively not that important. But we'll make sure that we do our best to get that information to you.
A groan from the nearby cot shows that this orc elder is alive, though not in any condition to receive guests.
Okay, good enough. At least with HCL, the first season of Hardcore League, by the time everyone pretty much got all their stuff that they were going to do done in like the first week, and then there was like a handful of people on for the the remainder of the time. So we'll see if that's the case this time around. But I'll make sure we get a formal messaging out to you. Attempt to not die. What do we got left? Alright. Oh, there's one left. Sorry, I'll take care of this person. Let me get a hireling for us. All right. My life is a musical. It sounds to me like if you're not seeing any landscape really in the Borderlands, that you have data corruption on your game client. I would do a repair option on your game client. And yes, I kicked back down to 720p all 3 streams. I tried doing an experiment with 1080p last week, and it just didn't work out very well. I don't have the upload bandwidth, I guess, to take care of that. Which server are we wiping? That would be the hardcore server. The precedent is to expect that at the end of each hardcore season, we will start fresh for the next season. So, you know, do what you need to do with that knowledge. Let me quick call up our bonus here. Yeah, I guess the answer is no. All right. Ooh. Ouch. We have some pretty ambitious plans for the third season of the Hardcore League, but I can't go into that today, I'm sorry. Yeah, this build is a little squishy. This isn't a very fully developed character, I will be honest with you. What monster would I like to see most added to the game? That's a long-standing one. Since about 2006, I have been wanting to see an Intellect Devourer in DDO, and the reason for that is I like Intellect Devourers because they're brains with legs, and I have an old Grenadier mini of an Intellect Devourer that is one of my favorite minis. So, clearly, the best possible reason by which to make base game development decisions on. Which minis do I like the best from my childhood? Alright, if we get through this, let's actually recall out. It looks like we're just not ready for this Reaper here, so let's release and go back in on just Elite. It'll be better for us. I think we'll be fine with Elite. Famous last words. We'll see. I can't really break any news about Feywild here, I'm sorry. I've started to see some artwork come in and some other good stuff, but I really can't talk about it publicly. No, I agree that it would be unlikely for us to do a Reaper-only hardcore season. I mean, I guess never say never on anything, but that doesn't sound like something we'd be likely to do. Alright, this weekend's bonus is a Treasure Hunter Boost plus 5. Treasure Hunter Boost plus 5. We had, Sev had said, I guess, was it last Gen Con or the Gen Con before, that he would like us to do Isle of Dread. It ended up kind of getting shuffled, as things often do with other content. We're moving on Feywild and things like that. But, who knows? I think it's entirely possible that someday we'll be seeing Isle of Dread. I think the idea of Reaper Explorer areas would be challenging because of the way our wilderness tech works. Reaper tends to scale off of elite, but wilderness areas don't really know what elite is. So I think that there would be some technical hurdles to offering Reaper wilderness areas. It's always something you could do, but it sounds like it would be a lot of work to implement, so I really don't know if I see us doing that. I have not seen much about death data from Hardcore Season 2, but I absolutely expect that's something that we will look at in the coming weeks. We have more data this time because of the extra chat messaging and things like that that exists, so that works out pretty well for being able to parse some of that data. Tom G, I will have to follow up on that. Any chance of changing the mechanics of catacombs to allow you to play quests once you complete the chain? I had thought you could. Do we really gate it now that you can't go back in and do those quests? If so, that sounds like an error on our part. Alright, let's see if... Let's do a little better on it this time, now that we're not, perhaps... not quite ready for Reaper here.
A groan from the nearby cot shows that this Orc Elder is alive, though not in any condition to receive guests.
Is there a list somewhere that shows which old D&D modules quests and DDO were modeled for? No, for the most part, if it was based on an old module, then we released that module as an update. For example, you know, against the Slave Lords, and Temple of Elemental Evil, Haunted Halls of Evening Star, White Plume Mountain, etc. I think there are a few quests that are nods in some ways to official quests that are not, but not too many. I can think of one in particular that would serve as a decent example of that, and that would be... Now the name is skipping my brain, because my brain is bad. The one where you're in the house and there's a lot of kind of drama sequences and things like that. Oops. It was modeled a little bit after some of the mechanics of the original Ravenloft module. Because at that time of its development, it was not deemed likely that we'd ever be able to do something like Ravenloft, which of course, you know, as you know, we have since been able to do. Study in Sable, thank you. Yes, dude, absolutely. Study in Sable. That is the quest I'm thinking of. You know, about originally Study in Sable was kind of a nod to the Ravenloft module mechanics, under the belief that at the time, you know, the person who developed it, which I believe was Knockback, wanted to do something a little bit along those lines, but, you know, at the time, back of the WV days and that, it was deemed, you know, questionable if we'd ever be able to do something like a Ravenloft. That was really in the days before we even started doing classic packs, I think. Well, no, because we had done Haunted Halls, I think, by that point, so... But still. Oof. I believe, Loaf Beef, that you will probably not be unhappy with Hardcore Season 3's plans. Although, like I said, I can't get into detail about that, and it will not be Reaper only. But we are going to be shaking some things up here. And you know what? I think maybe Elite might be too much for us here. Kind of getting our butts handed to us. Alright, for our sanity, let's actually do this a third time. We'll go in on hard. So my character, like I said, is not particularly developed, although, you know, could use a better weapon, but I'm not 29 yet to get the Ravenloft sword, which is really what I would most likely be doing. But, you know, it's 3 other people in the group with me, too. Alright. I don't know what our plan is for the cargo hold. My guess is our plan will be to
it must be one of the visions revealed by the gatekeeper's spell.
Brain is not working today. The original plan is to get rid of the cargo hold, but people still want their taverns and stuff there, so I don't know what the plan is. But it doesn't have the same architecture as the rest of the airship, so you can't just add small hook points in there without doing some pretty significant work on it. Yes, you know,
from the nearby cot shows that this orc elder is alive, though not in any
honestly, I get a little
condition to
sick of
receive
justifying
guests.
myself all the time, but it is true that the characters I play in the live stream, particularly on worlds that I don't play very often, do not have the fully developed min-maxing and character build power that one would expect from a character that I have played more significantly. So deal with it. But yes, for next week I can spend a little more time focusing on getting my gear in order and redo my Epic Destiny tree to actually make some sense, etc., etc. However, I felt that making sure we had a proper top 100 list for Hardcore Season 2 was slightly more important.
Ahead is a small fountain, flanked by 2 large bears. Fortunately for you, these particular bears are stuffed.
It's not a 5% treasure hunter boost, it is a +5. There's a slight difference there, which is that it is basically an extra 5 to whatever behind the scenes dice rolling goes on.
Bull skulls decorate this modern fountain. Clear water gushes out into the sea.
We actually did do an XP boost fairly recently, and I would expect us to do that again relatively soon.
A screen blocks your path, decorated with masks and totems. To your surprise,
It does,
one of the totems begins to speak. Gain strength and endurance to reach the home of the elders.
It depends on the quest. I believe for most cases it does not increase the chance for named items, and the reason for that is most named items operate on their own percentages. However, there may be some quests out there, let's say particularly older quests, in which they are hooked up through a different system that is a more standard dice roll of 99 or 100 or something like that. And in those cases, it would impact things. But as a general rule, no. The Treasure Hunter's Boost will not give you a greater chance to get named items.
A stony guardian springs to life. Yes, there is room. Let me get back to that. Yes, I believe the potions of discovery are explicitly for named items. Is Champion Hunter Week still an available bonus day week event that is in the rotation? Yes, it is, Sitar. I was actually just looking at I believe we're planning our third quarter bonuses right now, and I saw a Champion Hunter Week in there. Is there PvP in this game? Nicholas says. There asks on YouTube. There is, although it's a pretty minor part of the game. Not something that we have done much in the way of support on for quite some time. But it does exist as something you can do, particularly, and there are people who do it. We have tavern brawling and some other options as well. It's a pretty minor part of the game, though. No, I do not know of any plans to update the TR cache for the foreseeable future. I know it's something people want us to do. They also want it to not be what it is, which is a temporary storage solution, not meant for long-term storage. But nonetheless,
design decisions back in the day have led it to be something which it was never intended to be. I realize that this flies counter to what the TR cache is actually used like, but the intention of the TR cache back in the day was it would go into the cache, and then as soon as you were done reincarnating, you would take all that stuff and put it back into your inventory. Because that's what people do. Nonetheless, that is its function. So any kind of searchability or what have you, or using it as a means of alternative storage is cool, but not something we're likely to further support.
You've found what the initiate was sent to retrieve. The skull
We'll see
of
what
a
ends up
war
happening.
captor.
There have been some starts and stops of possibilities over the years that have just never come to fruition.
is there a new character builder to download? Not new, but I know that there was a character builder that debuted this year. If you go back through enough of the old DDO Chronicles, you should be able to find it.
The old mine here has long since collapsed. Someone must have dug one too many times.
Let's see.
I mean, I recognize on this TR cache stuff that we're our own worst enemy in this regard. That the way it was implemented is not in line with its intended use. But we'll see whatever happens.
At the main shaft of the abandoned mine. Security constructs shuffle around nearby, still active long after the miners left. A hastily scrawled note at the beginning of this journal orders the mine's closure due to the release of some kind of hostile creature. Surely they're doing everything so that it can fill These destroyed constructs look like they've been partially eaten. Spiders certainly wouldn't do that. There must be something else around here. Something with a taste for metal.
Taste for metal.
Several Plague Golems stand idle in this Mage Rights workshop, waiting to be reactivated. They would be difficult to fight, though it might also be argued that it's better for you to deal with them now, before someone less prepared comes along.
Okay. Oh, by the way, Samus, I happened to, through, I don't know, it was Twitter or Facebook or something, see a news article featuring you from one of your local newspapers on your sort of, efforts you got going on. I don't know how much of that's public, so I don't really want to talk too much about it, but I saw you in the news. Oh, updates on the YouTube channel. Well, if you're doing YouTube channel updates, then I assume your travel bus plan is public info. Okay, I'll admit, it wasn't the greatest article I've read in the world. I agree with you there. I've seen worse. Does that help? The Hall of Heroes is something that we have a plan for, and we will be talking about later, but not today.
A nearby
Sorry.
Canet crystal hums with magical energy. It's connected to a barrier that blocks the path forward. Buffets your face. An ancient magma brute lumbers about in the large chamber ahead. The rumble of the brute turns, leaving only the sound of its magma flowing.
Nice.
You bend over, pick up a slightly pulsing chunk of the crystal. The heart of an ancient magma root. The something old yet new that Blackstone was sent here to collect.
Why are Guild airships fairly resource intensive on the back end? I think an engineer would be able to provide a more coherent answer to that. But in general, I could say that each level tends to be its own instance. The Guild airship is a created and uncreated instance. There's a lot of art resources involved, some engineering resources to deal with the tech.
Has long since collapsed. Someone must have dug one too many.
So I think it's just one of those things that needs a lot of work to support changes to, rather than, say, maybe like an enhancement tree where one or two people could largely get that done. I think that's the questing we're going to do here today. I'm going to pick up my end rewards and do a little more Q&A before the end of the show. I do want to thank you for joining me today in Party Chat. I will get you a points code in the in-game mail later on today. The +2 racial action point tomes. I know that folks would like to see those back in the store. I am sure that at some point our e-commerce team will oblige, but I have not heard any plans specifically as to when that will be. Sorry. Alright, what do we got? Anything else I should mention? I'm trying to think if there's any news I should bring up here before the end of the show. Again, we have a +5 Treasure Hunters boost. We'll be getting an announcement about the exact details of Hardcore Season 2 on the forums later today, most likely. We do have a weekly restart. Would have been today, but there was some things that came up, so the weekly restart will be tomorrow morning instead at 9 o'clock Eastern. And otherwise, stay tuned for some information about our next Lamania preview, which should be coming in the relatively near future. So, thanks very much for joining me. Samus Grub will be up in just a couple of minutes, most likely, and you can find our full schedule over on twitch.tv/DDO stream. Have fun, everyone, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.